Yes, sir.
No problem.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Awaiting orders.
Ready and
Waiting. Awaiting orders.
Comrade,
Yes, sir.
acknowledge. Yes, sir. Acknowledge. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledge. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Acknowledge. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
No problem.
Yes, sir. Of course.
Comrade, affirmative.
Awaiting
Very
orders. Yes,
well.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Mission saved.
Agreed.
Yes, affirmative.
Reporting. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Agreed. Agreed. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Acknowledge.
Yes, sir.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Reporting. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Ready and waiting.
Yes,
Affirmative.
sir. Affirmative.
Yes,
Yes, acknowledge.
No problem.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Reporting. Very well. Of course. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Ready and
At
waiting.
once. Yes, sir. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledge.
Mission saved.
Reporting.
Comrade, affirmative.
Reporting.
Yes, sir. Acknowledge. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Agreed. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledge. 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 Acknowledge.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Very well. Very well. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Very well. Agreed. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Mission loaded.
Waiting orders.
Yes, sir.
Reporting. Agreed. Yes, sir.
No problem. Affirmative.
Ready
Acknowledge.
and waiting.
Very well.
Reporting.
Very well. Affirmative.
No problem. Reporting. Agreed.
Comrade, acknowledge. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Acknowledge.
Reporting. Reporting.
Comrade, affirmative. Affirmative.
Reporting.
Yes, sir. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Mission loaded.
Acknowledged. At once. Yes, sir. At once. Yes, sir.
Comrade, acknowledge. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Acknowledged. Agreed.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Acknowledge. Acknowledge.
Ready and waiting. Agreed. Reporting. Very well. Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Comrade, affirmative. Acknowledge. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledge. 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 Waiting order. Affirmative. Acknowledge. 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 Waiting order. Waiting order. Affirmative.
Mission loaded.
Waiting orders. Affirmative.
Affirmative.
Ready and waiting.
Agreed. Yes, sir. Acknowledge.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Waiting orders. Very well. Of course.
Mission loaded.
Acknowledged.
Yes,
Affirmative.
affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative.
Reporting.
Affirmative.
Ready and waiting.
Acknowledge. Acknowledge.
Yes, sir. At once. Very well. Very well. Waiting orders. Very well. Agreed.
Affirmative.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Of course.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Wait.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. At once.
Lost.
Yes, sir. Acknowledge. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, affirmative.
Mission loaded.
Agreed.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Acknowledge. Acknowledge.
Reporting. Affirmative. Agreed.
Yes, sir.
Ready and waiting. Affirmative.
Mission
Yes,
loaded.
sir. Ready and waiting. Acknowledged. Very well. Acknowledged.
sir.
Acknowledged.
Affirmative.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. At once. Very well. Yes, sir.
Waiting order. Acknowledge.
Yes, sir.
Reporting.
Reporting.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledge. 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 Affirmative.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Agreed. Yes, sir. Very well. Of course. Affirmative.
Comrade.
Mission saved.
Yes, sir.
Comrade. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Acknowledge.
Yes, sir. Of course. Yes, sir.
Waiting affirmative. Acknowledge. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Waiting order. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledge. 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 Yes, sir.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Ready and waiting.
Acknowledge. Reporting. Yes, sir.
Acknowledged.
Acknowledge.
Acknowledged. Agreed. Very well. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. At once. Affirmative.
Waiting affirmative.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative. At once. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledge. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledge.
Yes, sir.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Very well. Agreed. Agreed. At once. Of course. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Reporting. Waiting orders. Waiting orders. Agreed. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Affirmative.
Reporting.
Comrade. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Mission saved.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Agreed. At once. Affirmative. Agreed. Very well. Very well.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Reporting. Acknowledged.
Comrade.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. At once. Yes, sir.
Comrade. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Ready and waiting. Waiting order. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. At once. At once. Very well. Very well. Affirmative. Affirmative. At once. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Waiting orders.
Mission saved.
Comrade. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Comrade.
Yes, sir. Reporting.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Reporting.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Waiting orders. At once.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Comrade. Affirmative.
Reporting.
Comrade. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Wait. Yes, sir.
Have arrived.
Very well.
Yes, sir.
Reporting course. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Agreed. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Right now.
Waiting orders.
Yes, sir.
Reporting.
Very well. Yes, sir.
Ready and waiting. Yes, sir. At once. Reporting.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Report. Yes, sir. Reporting. Affirmative.
Need a jump?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Acknowledged. Reporting. Reporting. Very well. Awaiting orders. Very well. At once. Affirmative. Agreed. At once. Very well. Affirmative. At once. Reporting. Reporting.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Waiting orders. Yes, sir.
Mission loaded.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Agreed. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Reporting.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Affirmative. Waiting orders. Once.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Affirmative.
Reporting.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Waiting order. Affirmative. Waiting order. Yes, sir.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Yes, affirmative.
Waiting
Yes,
orders.
affirmative. Affirmative.
Ready and waiting. Once.
Waiting
Reinforcements
order.
have arrived.
Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Waiting orders. Very well. Affirmative. Ready and waiting. Reporting. Of course. Yes, sir. Yes, agreed. Yes, sir. Ready. Very well.
Comrade, acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Mission
Yes,
loaded.
sir. Acknowledged.
Reporting.
Waiting. Affirmative.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Very well.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Reporting.
Comrade, acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Waiting order.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Reporting. Course.
Waiting order.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Reporting. Very well.
Yes, sir.
Acknowledged. Agreed. At once. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Very well. Waiting orders. Acknowledged. Reporting. Once. Affirmative. At once. Acknowledged. At once. Reporting. At once.
Reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Waiting
Affirmative.
orders.
At
Once. Affirmative.
Comrade.
Yes, sir. Reporting. Agreed. Waiting orders.
Comrade. Acknowledged.
Waiting orders.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Reporting.
Reporting. Acknowledged.
Reporting. Waiting orders. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Reporting. Reporting.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Waiting. Yes, sir. Comrade. Yes, sir.
Reporting. Waiting orders.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Mission saved.
Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Comrade. Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Very well.
Comrade.
Yes, sir. Reporting. Very well. Agreed.
Waiting order. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Ready and waiting. Yes, sir. Very well. Waiting orders. Waiting orders. Very well. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Waiting orders. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Waiting. Ready and waiting.
Affirmative.
Reporting. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Mission saved.
Acknowledge.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit lost. Mission loaded.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Waiting order. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Ready and waiting.
Waiting order. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Waiting order. Affirmative.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Yes, affirmative. Acknowledged. Waiting order. Affirmative.
Mission saved.
Acknowledge.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Ready and waiting.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ready and waiting. Ready and waiting.
Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Reporting. Reporting.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Very well. Ready and waiting. Reporting.
Reporting.
Waiting orders.
Need a jump?
Yes, sir. Affirmative. At once. Reporting. Affirmative. Ready and waiting. Reporting. Yes. Ready and waiting.
Yes.
Very well.
Mission saved.
Yes, sir. Waiting. Reporting. Yes, sir. Report. Ready and waiting. Reporting.
Lost.
Acknowledged. Waiting orders. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Reporting. Ready and waiting. Affirmative.
Engineering affirmative.
Waiting orders. Reporting.
Need a jump?
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Juice? Yes.
Reporting.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Waiting orders. Very well. Reporting.
Comrade?
Acknowledged. Agreed.
Comrade? Affirmative. Acknowledged. Engineering affirmative.
Waiting orders. Very well.
Waiting order. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Reporting. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Acknowledged.
Reporting. Yes, sir.
Need a jump?
Affirmative. Agreed.
Yes.
Affirmative.
Comrade?
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Engineering. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Waiting orders.
Waiting order.
Affirmative. Of course.
Need a jump?
Very well. Reporting. At once. Agreed. Very well.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Need a jump?
Agreed. Agreed.
No juice?
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Mission saved.
At once.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Of course. Reporting.
Affirmative. Need a jump?
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Comrade? Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Reporting. Very well. At once.
Yes.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. 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 Affirmative.
Reporting.
Affirmative.
No juice?
Waiting orders. Agreed. Agreed.
Waiting
Acknowledged.
orders.
Affirmative. Agreed. Yes, 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 sir. Agreed.
Acknowledged.
Very well. Reporting. Affirmative. At once. Agreed. Very well. Affirmative. At once.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Order. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Reporting.
Comrade? Yes, sir. Waiting order.
Ready and affirmative.
Comrade? Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative.
Waiting
Acknowledged.
orders. Affirmative. Very well. At once. Acknowledged. Very well. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Agreed. Affirmative. At once. Yes, sir. Ready and waiting.
Comrade?
Report
Affirmative.
at once. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Waiting order. Acknowledged.
Report.
Yes, sir.
Waiting orders.
Waiting affirmative. Affirmative.
Report affirmative. Of course. Yes, sir. Ready. Agreed.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Comrade?
Reinforcements
Waiting
arrived.
orders. Report agreed.
Need a jump?
Yes, sir. Very well. Very well.
Need a jump? Yeah! Juice! Power on! Need a jump?
Mission saved.
Let's dance! Power on! Yes! Let's dance! Power on! Yes! Power on!
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Report agreed. Reporting.
Yes, sir. Juice? Got juice? Right now.
Unit lost.
Need a jump?
Reinforcements
Waiting
arrived.
on.
Unit lost.
Right
Unit
now.
lost.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Comrade? 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 Yeah!
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Report agreed. Reporting. Agreed. At once. Agreed. Very well.
Affirmative.
Waiting order. Agreed. Yes, sir. At once. Acknowledged. At once. Reporting.
Reinforcements
At
have
once.
arrived.
Ready and waiting. Agreed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Acknowledged.
Mission saved. Mission
Acknowledged. Very well. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Waiting order. Ready and waiting. Yes, sir. once. Agreed. At once.
Yes, sir.
Vehicle report. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Acknowledged.
Vehicle report.
Affirmative. Vehicle report. Acknowledged. Reporting. Affirmative. 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 Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Report. Vehicle report. Reporting. Reporting. Affirmative.
Warning, 5
Yes, sir.
minutes.
Acknowledged. Awaiting orders.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Reporting. Affirmative.
No problem.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Vehicle here, lost.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Four.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Vehicle report. Report. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes,
Vehicle
sir.
here, lost.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Acknowledged.
Wait,
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Comrade. Yes, sir.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Comrade. Yes, sir.
Affirmative.
Waiting order.
Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Affirmative.
Comrade. Yes, sir.
Acknowledged.
Mission saved.
Yes, sir.
Warning,
Yes,
2
sir.
minutes remaining.
Acknowledged.
No problem.
Affirmative.
Comrade. Acknowledged. Comrade.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Acknowledged.
Comrade.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Acknowledged.
Comrade.
Acknowledged.
Combating. Waiting order. Yes,
Vehicle
sir.
here, lost.
Comrade.
Warning,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Acknowledged.
Waiting order.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Awaiting orders.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Waiting order.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Vehicle report.
Affirmative. No problem.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Vehicle here,
No
lost.
problem. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Acknowledged.
Reinforcements have
Yes, sir.
arrived.
No problem. Acknowledge. Acknowledge. Yes, sir.
Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Acknowledged.
Comrade. Acknowledge. Acknowledge. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Reporting. At once. At once. Of course.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Acknowledged.
Comrade.
Affirmative.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Waiting order. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Comrade. No problem. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Reporting. Reporting. Awaiting orders.
Yes, sir. Comrade.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Reporting.
Reinforcements have
Yes, sir.
arrived.
Acknowledged.
Vehicle reporting.
Vehicle report. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Awaiting
Affirmative.
orders. Yes, sir. Awaiting orders. Awaiting orders.
No problem.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Waiting order.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Comrade.
Yes, sir.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Waiting order. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Waiting order.
Ready and waiting. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Awaiting orders.
Affirmative.
Reporting. Reporting.
Affirmative.
Reporting.
Affirmative.
Vehicle reporting.
Acknowledge.
Reporting. Yes, sir.
Acknowledge.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledge. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Affirmative.
Vehicle report. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Acknowledge. Acknowledge.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Awaiting orders. Yes, sir.
Affirmative.
Acknowledge. Yes, sir. Ready and waiting. Very well. Reporting. Reporting. Yes, sir.
Affirmative.
Vehicle reporting. Ready and waiting. Vehicle reporting. Acknowledge.
Yes, sir. Acknowledge.
Awaiting orders.
No problem. Acknowledge. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledge.
Yes, sir. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledge. Awaiting orders. Acknowledge. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Affirmative.
Reporting. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Reporting. Reporting. Awaiting Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Reporting at waiting order. Yes, sir. Reporting.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Sir, reporting. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Ready and very well. At once. Awaiting order.
Affirmative.
Ready and waiting. Agreed. Yes, sir. Awaiting order. Ready and waiting. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Affirmative.
Acknowledged. Very well. Reporting. Awaiting order.
Acknowledged.
Reporting. Vehicle reporting. Vehicle reporting. Awaiting order.
Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Reporting. Vehicle reporting. Ready and agreed. Reporting. Vehicle reporting. Yes, sir. Vehicle reporting. Ready and waiting. Yes, sir.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yeah.
Affirmative. At once. Awaiting order.
Acknowledged.
Reporting.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Reporting. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Affirmative.
Yeah.
Affirmative. At once. Affirmative. Very well. Very well.
Yes, sir.
Mission accomplished.